60,000 Crimean Tatars. It is the number of representatives of the indigenous people of Crimea forced to flee from the persecution and repressions by the self-proclaimed authorities to the mainland of Ukraine. Former political prisoner Ismail Ramazanov knows firsthand about the methods of the invaders. Even your statements addressed to the occupying power are enough to provoke procedural actions against you, illegal procedural actions. I'm just one of the few people who did not keep silent about what was happening, that almost every week they are aware of searches, arrests, that they are aware of such facts as enforced disappearances. The liberation of Crimea and all political prisoners, this is exactly what the Crimean Platform was created for. In the meantime, the most effective way to force the Russian Federation to return the occupied peninsula to Ukraine is sanctions.
Along with the Kremlin's policy of international isolation, it is sanctions that, from our point of view, influence the behavior of the aggressor state and force it not to cross certain red lines, especially when it comes to the everyday crimes which we observe in Crimea.
The main problem in the application of sanctions for the occupation of Crimea is the lack of a control mechanism. That is, it is almost impossible to check whether they are effective or not. Lack of a system and mechanisms for monitoring the effectiveness of sanctions, as well as responsibility for violating the sanctions regime. This is the first issue. The second is the absence of the main body responsible for the implementation of state sanctions policy. Third is the lack of a single register of special restrictive measures. According to experts, sanctions should be sectoral and, at the same time, they should hit the business, economy, trade and investments of the aggressor country. This should be a set of diplomatic, military-diplomatic, military-political and political measures to block Russia's opportunities to wage an aggressive war. Part of the deoccupation policy is the fight against propaganda and fakes. Earlier, the International Center for Countering Disinformation was launched in Ukraine, and the broadcasting of propaganda TV channels was also stopped. If we try to refute every information, it will only be a waste of resources. Therefore, the first thing is important, that is identifying the most important topics one needs to respond to. And one should not react to all topics. And second, it is necessary to explain people how misinformation works. The effect of sanctions against the Russian Federation is already tangible. For example, exports to the occupied peninsula have dropped by almost a third over the past 7 years. The banking and investment systems have practically ceased to exist. And most importantly, all civilized countries of the world consider Crimea to be an integral part of Ukraine. Reported by Vadim Kramer and Yulia Hranovska, UATV News.